Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Oklahoma Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the September 25th meeting, and I would recognize a motion to that effect. So moved. It's been moved. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Anthony, are you there?
Yeah.
Second. Okay.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. We have three financial reports. Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust Revenue and Obligation Report for June 2012, the report for July 2012, and we're being asked to ratify the trust payments. Are there any questions or comments about those three financial reports, or you need more elaboration?
No. I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved to approve them. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Now being asked to approve the preliminary design report for John W. Rex Elementary School, Project ES35.
Mr. Chairman, we're glad to bring you this preliminary report today for the John W. Rex School, previously known up till now as the Downtown Elementary School. We have Mr. John Ward from TAP Architecture here today to give us a presentation.
Thank you. My name is John Ward. I'm with TAP Architecture, and we will get it fired up here in a second. There it is. The little background, kind of go back to the past a little bit. The site is located downtown Oklahoma City. It's at Sheridan Walker. This is a site that was selected after a pretty extensive site selection process. I think we had 18 sites that we looked at and came down to this site, which we felt to be the best site for the school. Today, though, what I want to talk about a little bit is, first of all, give a quick overview of where we are. Of course, present the task to design drawings, present the budget for the project and the schedule, and then take any questions you might have. What you're looking at is the site plan in the task to report. At the northeast corner of Sheridan and Walker is the primary entrance into the school. When we laid out the design for the school, it was our hope to set the entrance at the northeast corner because that is the corner that is most closely identified with the downtown area and is most proximate to all the assets downtown. That can, in some positive way, impact the school. We also wanted to maintain an urban edge along Walker and Sheridan, and so the party began to be set that ultimately led to this site plan. We worked with Oklahoma City Traffic, talked about several issues. One of the issues that they had some concern over, of course, was service to the facility. And from that discussion, it was determined that Sheridan was the best location to provide services to the school. And so at their suggestion, we're going to ask that Sheridan be a loading zone only along the curb. So that will be used for many things. It will be used for loading product in and out of the school, taking product out, and then also for the occasional bus that's going to come and give them a place that will be outside of the queuing area for the rest of the student body. The queuing area is of concern, and so the way the plan is set up is Dewey and California give us the maximum amount of queuing space, and so we propose that the entry for drop-off of children in the morning and then the exit for pickup of children in the afternoon would be on Dewey at the northwest kind of corner of the site. This allows for queuing then either down Dewey or down Dewey and around California. Children will be dropped at the site then on Dewey, and in working with the John Rex board, we have several subcommittees. The education subcommittee has been determined that children will most likely be, once they come in through the gates on Dewey, if in inclement weather they would go to the gym, in good weather they would go to the playground until the start of the school day. As it sets up, again, the classroom block is along Walker, runs north and south. The gymnasium is along Sheridan, which runs east and west. There's a space between the gymnasium and the classroom block, which is an open-air courtyard, which is kind of a garden education courtyard. And we have we'll talk about this a little bit more, but we have a design alternate to provide a fabric cover for that area. So we talked about the building placement, the importance of the northeast corner for the point of entry, and the importance of maintaining kind of the Walker and Sheridan edge. We've talked about the queuing and drop-off along Dewey and services along Sheridan. Some of the important aspects of the design is to design a building which remains flexible as teaching styles change over the years. Also provide personalized space for the students and the teacher. Provide spaces that will be conducive to learning essentials, basics, reading, writing, arithmetic. And then also more private spaces for one-on-one student reflection and work. And then also collaboration is one of the hallmarks of the school, and so there needs to be collaborative areas where different students in a grade can collaborate on projects together, as well as one grade with another grade. We also anticipate the potential for a large number of mentors for the school, coming from the business community, the government community, as well as the arts. And so this is a huge asset for the school potentially, and so we want to provide spaces for that, to facilitate that. The way the first floor sets up is, again, at the northeast corner, that which is in green is kind of that public entry space. The entry area would be at the very northeast corner. There is a desk, a control desk at that location, which then leads into the community hub. The community hub is a multi-use space, which will be used for activities during the day, as well as for dining, as a dining facility. The area, which is, I guess it kind of looks, is it blue or purple? I can't really tell on here, but it looks kind of purplish, is the classrooms. We have K and pre-K on the first floor. The pre-K is on the west side, which opens up into the garden play area and playground area. And then as you leave the classroom wing, again, moving to the west, you can see the open garden area, which would serve as an extension for learning space, as well as in good weather, serve an extension for dining space. And then the gymnasium to the west of that. As you look at the second and third floor, the second floor is really set up for first, second, and third grade. And the third floor is set up for fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. Each grade level is set up as a cluster or a pod. It's anticipated that team teaching will be utilized, and so there is a certain transparency between the home room or home base spaces and the common collaborative space, which we call the launcher. This is a diagram of what the actual learning space would look like at any one of the given grades. And so there are 3 home-based spaces which are akin to a classroom, and then there is a common space, collaborative space, which we call the launcher. Each of these spaces, classroom spaces, is approximately equal in size to the space outlined in the CAP 500 plan. There's also then 2 smaller spaces which are used for small group activities, as well as one-on-one learning activities. They can also then be used for mentors with small groups or other people that might come into the facility to do presentations or assist. This is an axiometric of that learning space. That which is shows kind of a green or a greenish floor would be the learning spaces, classroom spaces, and that which is gray is the launcher or the collaborative space. The launcher space opens out then into the common corridor, and it's anticipated that the the education process, that collaborative process, will flow into the corridors as first grade, second grade may do projects together, third grade, fourth grade may do projects together, that sort of thing. This is a color board, our materials board. We're trying to bring quite a bit of color into the space. And the next slide, I think you'll see that there's a color variation from floor to floor, just to further emphasize the the differences at each floor. And this would be the laminate colors that are being chosen for the space. And this is a representation of the first, second, and third floor and the finished materials being proposed. We're proposing to use carpet tile at the classroom areas and sealed concrete at the common circulation areas, as well as in the collaborative spaces. These drawings here are elevations of the building, which demonstrate the massing, really, of the building. Again, east elevation, kind of at the center of sheet, is that which is along Walker, and the south elevation, which is along Sheridan. The north elevation along Sheridan. The attempt is to get the greatest mass against Walker, and then let the massing step down as it moves west toward the Film Road district. These represent renderings or what we think the building will look like. The top rendering is at Sheridan and Walker, and it's at the entry point into the common space. We're proposing that be mostly transparent and glass curtain wall. The other materials would be a brick, a dark iron spot brick, and then the lighter material that you see just to the right of the entry is a limestone veneer. As you look at the top rendering and you look to the right, you can see the gymnasium in the background. And then if you look at the lower rendering, you are looking at the gymnasium in the foreground with the classroom block in the background. The top rendering is a view of the project from Dewey, and that is at the point, again, where we're going to drop off children as well as pick up children. So we've created a portal entry at that point, which will lead the children directly into the gymnasium, as I mentioned earlier, or into the playground area. On the corner, at the kind of in the left corner there, you'll see a pocket park, which we're proposing, and that could be used over the fullness of time for some sort of a statue or public art. The lower rendering then is along California, and there's a secondary portal at that location. The project budget, the original PIP was for $9 million.
Nine.
I don't know, this might not be the one. I think it is. The program contingency is 1.5 million, TIF funding of 1.5 million, for a subtotal of 12 million. There will be 2.25 million coming from private sources, namely the John Rex Board and Friends of the John Rex Board. And then also, so that makes for a total project funding of 14.25 million. The current estimate, base bid estimate, is 14.249 million. And then there are several alternates kind of on the wish list, which we will design into the project with the hopes that if we have a good bid letting, we may get some of those. Some of those items would include the fabric canopy, over the outdoor classroom space, a wood floor in the gym instead of a rubber athletic floor, additional playground equipment over the MAP standard, some revolving marker boards in the classroom areas, upgrade of the gymnasium into a storm shelter, enlarging the gymnasium from the current standard to allow for side bleachers, and the nano wall, which is a glass wall at the classroom, between the classroom and the quarters, and then increased roof insulation over the currently proposed roof insulation of 4 inches. The schedule for the project, it's October. We're currently completing our preliminary report. We anticipate that the plans and specifications will be complete in January. We anticipate that the project will bid in March. And if that all happens, we anticipate that the project will be open for business, school will be open for business August of 2014. Are there any questions, comments, or observations?
Mr. Chairman.
Sure, Pat.
Who is Canon Design?
Canon Design is our design consultant.
Design consultant?
They're a national, they specialize in,
They got the learning launcher Axon thing going?
pardon me?
They're the learning launcher diagram? That's their idea?
Yes, they came up with the conceptual idea, working with the John Rex board and the education committee.
Could you repeat what diagram you said?
The learning launcher, the unusual, no longer classroom kind of thing, which I'm not particularly crazy about, but
Yeah, yeah.
John Rex.
Yeah, that was developed in collaboration with the board and with their education subcommittee.
Is it supposed to work better than regular classrooms?
Pardon me?
Is it supposed to work better than regular classrooms?
Well, it's an alternate teaching method.
Alternate.
Yeah, and it's a charter school, and I think they anticipate employing alternate methods.
Okay.
So.
Other questions? Yes. Anthony.
Okay, staying there, if this alternate learning method doesn't work or at some point in the future is changed, how easy would it be to put in walls and make that a more traditional, 3 or 4 classroom spaces?
Right, that's a great question. When we looked at this, that was kind of our early marching orders, was to make this as flexible as we can, because over the fullness of time, teaching styles will change. And so the way it's set up, we could take, if we want to make this traditional classrooms, we would get 4 classrooms in each of these pods.
How easy would it be, though? I mean, how expensive?
Well, we would take out the glass folding partitions and put drywall in. The drywall is relatively inexpensive, so, but, I don't have a number, but it would represent a small percentage of the total project budget. How
Acoustically sturdy are those glass partitions? In other words, and I will say, I went to one of the public meetings, I asked these questions, and I've gotten very good explanations, I will say that, but I still picture 100 kids in the space not enclosed by walls.
Right.
And getting loud, and 3 different teachers and 3 different concepts going on at one time, and
Sure.
how much bleed over of the sound is there?
Sure. Well, there's several ways to use a space. One way to use a space is like all doors open, if you will. And with all doors open, you're just going to get bleed back and forth like you would in pretty much. I mean, there's some acoustics in the wall and the ceilings and stuff, but you'll get quite a bit of bleed back and forth. The other way to use it is to close, for those movable partitions to close. The partitions offer a reasonably good STC rating, sound transmission coefficient rating, on the order of low 40s. If you took a classroom wall, if it's drywall, it'd be up in the high 40s. So it's not quite as good as drywall. But it's reasonably close. If it were block, it would be higher than that. It's not nearly as good as block. But I think there's also separation, proximity, separation. So, as an example, if you had, if they were in a, if the teaching plan were such that at a particular time they were all in a more traditional role, teaching reading, let's say, and they were maybe reading in one, math in the other, and they need more quiet, and if they were all closed, then you also have the benefit of distance between the spaces created by that common collaborative luncher space. So that also impacts the acoustic performance of the wall. The walls that are immediately adjacent, like if you look at the two classroom pieces on top, the immediate adjacent walls are solid walls, and so direct line of sight from one opening to another is minimized, which also improves the acoustic separation.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yes, Carl. How will parking be addressed for an expected large mentor group?
Yeah, that's a good question. There is some street parking, and it's like a downtown urban area, so there is some street parking. There's also a parking garage immediately across the street to the north, Sheridan. So there's public parking available, but it's unless there's some sort of a relationship worked out between Cotpart or the school. I mean, people would have to pay for that parking.
Other questions? Yes, Anthony.
What is a nano wall?
The nano wall is that glass partition wall, and Nano is the manufacturer. Yeah, and it's there are several manufacturers of it. We should have probably just said glass partition wall. It would have been more descriptive, but that's what it is.
Okay, and this may not be best directed towards you, but I have some questions about the funding.
The funding, okay.
The TIF funding, has it been approved, or if not, what is the...
David?
Yes, sir. The TIF funding has been approved. It was approved several months ago.
The additional contingency funds would be dedicated to this project. What is the process for that approval?
We'll be bringing you a revised PIP here maybe next meeting. We'd plan on having it this meeting, but we just didn't get that done. But we'll be bringing that to you shortly.
And it will deal with the allocation of program contingency to this building?
Yes, sir.
So the PIP will be amended to that effect?
Yes, sir.
Yes, is ongoing? We're getting started? Or?
I believe I believe we have a letter already committing to the private funding. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Great.
I know the John Rex board in a board action approved it.
Okay.
And I think there's been some sort of a document prepared and sent to.
There's an agreement also that we won't begin construction until we have that money deposited. So
Good.
we won't start before we have that.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I would recognize a motion to approve the preliminary design report for John W. Rex Elementary School Project ES 35.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. We now have 6 change orders, which we will go through individually and vote on it once, if that's okay. Mr. Todd?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you said, we have 6 change orders here. The first one is change order number 2 for Cleveland Elementary School, an increase of $33,113. I'll hit the high points for you as usual. Staff recommended a monument sign revision for $5,730. That's for movable letters and a plexiglass cover. Item 10 is structural steel. There was a wall that plans indicated that it was a load-bearing wall, but after demolition we determined that it was not a load-bearing wall, so there's steel to be added. for that project. The next change order is number 6 for Columbus at Jackson School. I might point out that this is actually a decrease of $55,368.47, but there are some items on here. There's some items that are increased, but item 3 is the value engineering, and there were some items taken out of the project for $154,829. Some of these included masonry restoration on the exterior and some millwork and some locker removal, ceramic tile, some of the things that don't really harm the project in whole. But then some of the additions were painting of the lockers, item number 4 for $11,753. Item 7 is a water line modification for $20,000. And item number 8 is a compensation for delays due to testing. Students weren't able to move, so the contractor is being compensated for that. Next one is change order number 5 for Hayes Elementary School. This one has a substantial amount here for door hardware replacement, but that is door hardware replacement for the entire school. All the existing even places that we didn't remodel. It was noticed late in the bidding process, and it was decided to just go ahead with the bidding process knowing that this change order was coming up. And this is an item that's easy to quantify as far as how much this door hardware costs. So that's why that choice was made. Door replacement, item number 4, the door entries were in poor condition and they were chosen to be replaced. This school is scheduled to be completed in December of this year, and it's at 5.7%. Next one is change order number 6 for Oak Ridge Elementary. This is a final change order for this project. There was some heat and air equipment in the kitchen. The heat from the equipment in there was excessive, so that we added some equipment to help alleviate that. There were some electrical receptacles that were added at the district's request, and this was at 6.4%.
The final override?
This is, yes, sir.
Change orders were 6.4? Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay, the next one is change order number 4 for West Nichols Hills Elementary. Have a rooftop unit replacement for $34,259 on that. The plans didn't indicate some conditions there. There was no ductwork, so this is to alleviate the unknown circumstances on that project. And then moving on, I believe this is the last one. I've kind of lost track here. Yes, this is change order number 14. This also is a final change order for Classen SAS School. There's an electrical feed for a fire pump booster for the sprinkler system, item number 1 for $13,000. The rest of them are pretty small items, and like I said, this is a final change order, and this one has been determined to be substantially complete.
Change on the class and
9.99%.
oh boy.
Within 1/100th of the max.
Yeah, there you go.
And they're raising private money, is that correct? Is that my understanding?
The school district is going to contribute some bond money for, you're talking about the second phase of the projects? Yes, sir, and we're also going to be contributing a little bit for some parking. Those plans are right now in preliminary report stage. We hope to bring you the preliminary report here soon. Hopefully final plans in plus or minus 90 days or so.
Thank you.
No.
Want to make sure Valerie's happy. Okay, that's all. Is that all the change orders?
Yes, sir.
My understanding. Okay, I would recognize a motion to approve all 6 change orders. So moved. Been moved. Or second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Moved and seconded. Vote. Approved. We now have 2 items for concurrence. One is to concurrence relative to some gymnasiums on the school bond issue, and actually both of them are the same thing. Correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, these are concurrence items.
Recognize a motion to approve these 2 concurrence items.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Mr. Clowers.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the trust. We still have 24 schools in construction. We're nearing completion on 4 of those, Rancho Village, Oak Ridge, Northwest Classen, and the roof on Adams. We still have 2 schools that have not gone to construction. We are going to receive bids on Rogers Middle School a week from today. And then we still have 1 in design, the John Rex Charter School that you approved the preliminary report on earlier this afternoon. The administration building issue is still on hold. As far as I-89 2007 bond projects, construction continues on several. The gyms and classrooms at Coolidge, Van Buren, Hayes, Wheeler, West Nichols Hills, and Monroe. The gym in Nichols Hills is still on hold, waiting for the directions from the district. Final plans phase is to be complete in November for several schools and classrooms and gyms, Parmalee, Hillcrest, and Pierce, and also Adams, Bodine, Horseman, and Kaiser, and all those will bid in November this year. Final plans for Mark Twain, Putnam Heights, Southern Hills, Stanway, Buchanan, Gatewood, Johnson, and Oak Ridge for gyms and classrooms are to be completed in December this year. And contract negotiation continues for the A&E services for gyms at Heronville, Fillmore, Prairie Queen, Rockwood, and Eugene Field. And then final plans are still underway for the stadiums at Taft and Spiegel.
Are there any questions? In your packet is a program consultant report from Architectural Design Group and also the local business utilization report. Are there any comments by trustees? Comments by staff? Comments by citizens? Seeing none, thank you for being here. We're adjourned.